Hello, in this video I'm going to go over a new feature in the game that just launched in update 50 and talk about how you can take advantage of it, and that is the Overland difficulty and why you should give it a try. So I am in Malabal Tor in the public dungeon, the Crimson Cove. If you're not familiar with this area, this is a really good area to kill mobs because the enemies in here respawn really fast. And so this is a really good area to come and farm for XP. So let's go over a couple of things. I am going to go over a build that I've created here, and I'm going to talk about the main benefit of using the higher difficulty, challenge difficulty, and that is because when you switch this to Vestige, the most difficult, you're going to double your XP from just doing this right here. You're also going to triple your gold intake from monsters. So those two things are going to be extremely profitable, especially if you can gang up with a bunch of people from your guild or just however. There are a couple of reasons why I'm going to recommend that you don't actually physically group. And so let's get right into that. I've basically modeled this build very similar to how I created a build for the night market, and that's designed to run around kind of in a group of people, but not actually legitimately grouped. And the two reasons why. Number one, I'm wearing the Ring of the Pale Order. And when you group with people, for each person that you are grouped with, you get a decrease in healing done. And so this does not perform as well if you are grouped with people in the because it reduces basically after you get 5 group members, this ring actually does absolutely nothing. So you can still group together if you want to, but I would recommend swapping this out for something else that's more useful. If you're going to run with a tank and a healer, for example, then you definitely don't want to run the Ring of the Pale Order when you're running with a healer. So keep that in mind. But depending on what your activity is doing, you may or may not want to run with the Ring of the Pale Order. The second set that I'm using in here is Azureblight Reaper, and this is another reason why I would recommend not grouping if you're going to run this set right here. For every person that you are grouped with, this increases the stacks that you need in order to have Blight Seed explosions. So if you're just running next to them and they are using Azureblight as well, then you can still get your explosions to go off. I will say, if you're going to run this difficulty, this is very similar to running like a veteran dungeon by yourself. We'll just run a couple of things here and show you if the damage that I'm taking. As you can see, the Blight Seed from the Azureblight Reaper is taking out these guys pretty nicely. And it is really, really strong in groups like this because you can, as you can see, I just got smacked there because I wasn't blocking. But we'll just get up here and I'll go over the build in just a minute. But I just wanted to display this is going to be a lot easier if you've got a lot of people with you. So mainly the two things to focus on is the benefit that you're going to get from this. The Vestige XP boost only counts on monster kills, and so if you're not going to get kills, then you're probably not going to gain as much by having this on. So just keep that in mind. As you can see, you get just about 4,000 XP for one guy. So that's a pretty steep amount of XP. So I'm going to back up here and go back to the entrance here so we can go over the build itself. But before I start that, I'm going to tally off when you should use this and when this can be extremely beneficial. So I'll just use the mail function here, and we'll go into the body of the mail, and we'll type out you can get 150% gain XP on an XP potion. Then if you turn on Vestige difficulty, you can get another 100% XP. Then if you happen to be doing this activity during an event where double XP is present, that's going to be another 100 XP. And then we're going to look at training gear. I will go over that here in just a minute. But if you build correctly with training gear, you can get up to 95% of your gear, or say 95% increased XP. ESO Plus will give you another 10%. And then we've also got, so this right here will be kind of the listing for during an event. And if you take all of those into account, during an event, you can get up to 455% XP with this setup. So if you're trying to power level some more CP levels to get to 160, or to get up to the performance cap, or even just get to CP 3600, this is going to be a really good setup to do, especially during events, as I said, because you're going to get 100% more XP during events. A couple of add-ons that you could implement into this you could group with 2 people, and that would give you another 10% XP. Although, if you do that, you're going to lose some effectiveness of the Pale Order ring, and you're also going, if the other person is wearing Azureblight as well, then you could also have an issue with not getting as many Blight Seed stacks. So that's another thing. The Pledge of Mara that is available for purchase in the Crown Store, if you marry the person that you are running with, you can get another 10% that way. And then one more final boost that you can get that is really kind of, if you're just absolutely trying to max something out, then if you are a high elf, so if you have a high elf on your roster, then this is going to be the character that you're going to want to do this on, because high elves have a 1% increase to their experience gained. So if you absolutely maximize all of these categories out, you can top this off during an event, married, grouped with 2, you can get 466 increased percent bonuses there. So I'm going to recommend that you don't do the group of 2, because, as I said, it affects the 2 gear sets that I'm running here. But let's go over the build just in case you're not familiar with some of this stuff. As I said, I am running the Ring of the Pale Order. This heals me for the damage that I'm doing. Then I'm also running the Azureblight Reaper set. Whenever you put a damage over time effect applied to the enemy, then they gain stacks of Blight Seed. Once they get 20 stacks on them, they explode and can do a very large amount of damage in an area. And this is really, really good for burning through ads and that sort of thing. So if you've got a group of people that are not physically grouped, then you can really absolutely melt things down with this. The second set that I'm running, second 5-piece set, is the craftable set Heartland Conqueror. And this is an important set to run because this doubles the trait on your weapon, so that rather than getting 9% training, you get 18% training, which is 18% increased experience gained with the training trait. The bonuses are so. The third and the fourth piece bonus there are not real great, but the reason why this is recommended for XP builds is because of that extra XP you can get on that last piece of a weapon. So I'm going to go down the items here one by one. I am running a training Heartland Conqueror Maul with a flame damage glyph on the front bar. On the back bar, I'm running a training Heartland Conqueror Inferno Staff. Then I have a one-piece heavy Mighty Chuden in training. I'm wearing this for the extra resistances. Then I have a heavy training Heartland Conqueror Cuirass. Then I have an Azureblight shoulder piece in medium in training. Medium Azureblight belt in training. Training Azureblight bracers. Heartland Conqueror Greaves, that's a heavy Greaves in training, and Heartland Conqueror Sabatons in training. And all of these I have triglyphs on with Haikeijo glyphs. And then I have all three of my pieces of jewelry in Bloodthirsty with multi-effect damage glyphs, essentially physical harm. So I have Azureblight necklace, Azureblight ring, and the Ring of the Pale Order. So that is where I am at with gear. For the champion tree, if you're kind of running around solo like I am, you probably are going to want to put on a couple of defensive CP nodes. For example, the Ironclad and the Duelist rebuff probably would help. That would give you some extra defense there. Currently, I just have Biting Aura and Master at Arms slotted. One thing that I am going to call out really quickly, this Occult Overload can really help as well if you're burning down trash packs, because it can do an area of effect oblivion damage and it applies a status effect. So this can really help. So, and another one, if you need a little bit of extra healing, or if you happen to group with another person, the Revening Blows CP node can kind of counteract that reduction in healing that the Ring of the Pale Order has, or you can also implement the focused mending, and that would increase it as well. For the red tree, I just run these two on virtually every build, the Boundless Vitality and Fortified. And if you're running the skills that I have when I get there, you're definitely going to want to run Bastion. And then I have Celerity for some movement speed increase, just to get me out of some AoEs if there are some. But let's go through the skills here. I am a subclassed sorcerer base. Basically, the two staple classes that I would recommend using for this would be Storm Calling. If you're a Dragon Knight base by chance, then you could also use Earthen Heart in this instance, because they both have a major resolve skill that does damage. They have the Dragon Knight has the Earthen Heart Spike in the Earthen Heart skill line, the Shatter Spike major resolve skill that does damage in an AoE, and it's very similar to Hurricane. So if you're a Dragon Knight, you could swap Storm Calling, but I'm using Storm Calling in this video. I also would recommend Gravelords because of the increased penetration that you need for doing this. Overland difficulty makes it so that you do less damage, and so penetration is more important than ever with this. I'll just go ahead and buff up my build here so that you can see I'm at just about 7,000 penetration. I'm at 6,945. And then I'm also going to be implementing Major Breach in an AoE with the Unnerving Boneyard skill. So that is going to get me up and over the 9,000 penetration requirement to cleave through ads. And so let's just go over the skill lines one more time really quickly here. So I have Storm Calling and Gravelords as my staple, and then I have kind of just a fluctuation, trying out Dawn's Wrath to see how it works. There's a couple of good skills here. Solar Barrage is really awesome, and then Radiant Glory is a really good execute that heals you for the damage done, and then there are some good passives here as well. If you are interested in subclassing something else for that flex spot, for Dragon Knight, as I said, you're probably going to want to stick with Earthen Heart instead. Nightblade, probably the siphoning skill line would be a good choice for some of the ultimate passives, or Assassination has a really good critical chance built into that toolkit as well. Either one of those would really be strong. For the Warden, obviously you're going to go with the Animal Companions. That's a really, really strong AoE class skill line with the AoE and the buffs that it has on the passives. And for Arcanist, you probably just want to go with a beam build on this, and you might want to swap out Azureblight if you're going to do that, because Azureblight does not proc on direct damage. Like beams are no longer damage over time. If you're looking to do a beam build and do this sort of a setup, one of the Overland sets that I would recommend, you go to the DLC zones, you come down to Westweald, and you can use Macabre Vintage. The difference with this is it only causes explosions when enemies die, not just gaining stacks. So you actually have to kill something for this to proc. Although this is a really strong set, as it has basically a ton of weapon damage in it. So let's go over the character stats a little bit here. I just have 64 points into stamina here, and then I'm using the Lady Mundus to get my resistances up a little bit more. In terms of the potions and food, I am running the Jewels of Misrule. It's mainly kind of a PvP food for the most part. If you're not familiar with this food, you can get it during the Jesters Festival, or you can buy it on traders. And then the Mythical Ambrosia, this is the 150 potion that I was referring to. If you've got any of the certificate versions of the XP scripts, you can use those as well. Just any version of getting you up to 150 XP. And then I just have a tri-stat potion. If you're going to try this, you're probably going to die a lot. Just chill out and relax and just enjoy the difference in difficulty. It's not a big deal if you die. It's not that big of a deal. You can just get up and just have some fun. And as I said before, this is going to be a lot easier if you've got a large amount of people to play along with. And the biggest, I would say, thing that you've got to watch out for is you want to stay mobile. And so movement speed is really, really, really going to help you out with this. And grouping with people is probably going to be helpful as well. So if you're going to run into an area like this, you just want to make sure that your numbers are really looking good on your build. So let me go over those really quickly before I close out the video on what you're going to want to ensure that you have in place in case you don't want to follow this build to a T. Things that you want to make sure that you are basically trying to hit. Now, I would recommend having a little bit larger of a health bar here. Probably wouldn't hurt to try to get it up to 30,000 health. That would probably help stay alive quite a bit. Your recoveries need to really be on point. Weapon damage is probably not as pivotal as penetration is, because you're going to get a reduction in damage anyway. So if you try to stack into weapon damage, you're kind of ice skating uphill on that. I would really make sure that you hit at least 9,000 penetration when you are fully debuffing the enemy and all that. If you get 9,000 penetration, the 100% of your damage is going to go through there. And then you're going to want to make sure that you have as good of resistance as you can. For example, I believe it was 5 or 6 pieces of heavy gear. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 heavy pieces here and 3 mediums. So as you can see, I'm not running a traditional full damage build. If you do that on Vestige difficulty, you're probably going to be dying a lot more. So if that's a concern, I would try to kind of tilt towards going a little tankier, and then also take a companion with you. If you're just by yourself, a tank companion can help quite a bit. For some optional sets, in case you don't like the ones that I mentioned, I will say that the craftable set, the Heartland Conqueror, is going to be probably, I would say, a must on this, because the whole point of this activity is XP. So this is going to benefit you more than anything. So I would say that you want to have Heartland Conqueror on your build as a staple. So a couple of sets that could be put in instead of Azureblight. If you are a Necromancer base and you have the set farmed, you could use Corpse Burster as instead. This will help you get to that penetration cap, because anytime you explode a corpse, it's going to apply Minor Breach in an AoE. So that's something to consider there. If you don't have the Azureblight set farmed down, then as I said, the West Weald set, Macabre Vintage. The only caveat to this is you have to get the kill for this to explode. So if you are running in a grouped session, if everybody's running this, then you're going to have explosions go off regardless. It's just who gets the credit for the damage. So keep that in mind. But those are the 2 explosion sets that are going to be helpful if you haven't used those. Those are really good. But let me just go into the Battle Scrolls add-on here real quickly, and I can show you what does really good damage here. As you can see, the Azureblight Blight Seed is up there really high. In this fight, Carve does a really good job. We can go in here and look at this one. Light attack. So some of these are not with a whole group. So there's the Azureblight again. Blockade of Fire, Solar Barrage. As you can see, that CP slottable Occult Overload, that does quite a decent amount of damage. It does about 5%, 6% damage depending on your situation. If you're just cleaving through the ads in here and you're not really fighting the bosses, I would highly recommend doing that. The add-ons that I'm running, I've got a quite a large list here of add-ons that I use for Overland. I highly recommend you check out my add-ons playlist. I go through a lot of different demonstrations on those folders. So I will link the add-ons playlist in my video if you're curious of that. Also, I will put the companions video or playlists in there as well in case that is something of interest. But if you found this video was helpful or interesting, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Just remember, next time an event comes around where there is double XP, I'm not 100% familiar if the Zeal of Zenithar is one of those. We can just verify that really quickly going into the tutorials here and checking the events category to see if that lists double XP or not. So the achievements for crafting inspiration are increased. So it does not look like the Zenithar event is a double XP event. However, there are several events around the year, such as the Witches Festival, that is 100% bonus XP. White Strikes is 100% in PvP zones, which does not apply to this. So there's the New Life Festival over Christmas has double XP, as well as Jester's Festival and Hearts Week. So keep in mind when these events come around, also the Anniversary Jubilee, when these events come around and you're trying to think of ways to get XP, this method might be the way to go for that. So if you thought this video was helpful or interesting, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I have a very large catalog of videos for the video game. They're all separated by created playlists. Check out the description. I will put some of those playlists in there in case you're interested. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye.